Welcome and thank you for joining us today on this webinar. We called it an introduction to our total wellness partners. My name is Greg Sizemore. I'm with ABC National, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Today, we will be having a panel discussion with three individuals in various roles, assisting us in the construction industry with all of the things that really make up our initiative, ABC's Total Human Health. First, some housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded and will last approximately 60 minutes. The presentation will be available on ABC's website within 24 business hours. Attendees to the webinar today will also receive an email with a link to the presentation and the webinar recording. Please note, all participant lines are muted. You are welcome to submit questions throughout the webinar. We are monitoring that question box. It's located at the bottom of the sidebar. We will get to as many questions as possible during the Q&A portion of this presentation. You may also minimize and expand the GoToWebinar sidebar by clicking the red arrow in the top left-hand corner. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into a very quick overview of the individuals that are helping us on this call today. Today, we have Jared Elmquist, a seasoned executive with over 20 years of experience in leadership, strategic planning, large-scale fundraising, sales, and consulting in both the nonprofit and the for-profit area. He is a leader with the Corporate Chaplains of America, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. We have Elizabeth Herr with us. She is the Director of the Strategic Accounts and Partnerships with Tuned. Herr leads and manages a network of consultants across this company, as well as resellers and partners to drive strategic growth and enhance their market presence. And Joseph Heilman, he is an experienced executive with an expertise in active shooter training, undercover narcotics, drug interdiction, homeland security and robbery, as well as a SWAT commander, field training officer, use of force instructors, OC instructors, taser instructor, and forensic child interviewer. And that's a lot. He's going to unpackage that and just make sense of why he's our partner in this area. But I am really happy that you are all here and taking the time to be with us. I'm looking at the attendees list, and I see a lot of my friends out there that are out in our chapters that are already carrying the water as a mental health champion for Associated Builders and Contractors. And hopefully today we will give you even more resources to put inside of your box when it comes to addressing this. So here's the format for the day. I have a number of questions I'll be asking the panelists, and we'll save some time for Q&A at the end. So go ahead and be populating the questions as you think about them. Before the end of the session, we'll try to get back to those. So we're going to jump in, and I'm going to start this way. You know, you've heard me give a brief bio about our panelists, but now I would like you to know them and let them share a bit more about themselves and their organizations. So I'm asking my panelists to please introduce yourself, tell a bit about your role and how you got connected to us, and provide us just a really high level of your organization. So Jared, I'm going to speak with you first. If you jump in and take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Well, I think the key thing is I'm a family guy. I've been married to my wife for 38 years, and we've got 6 kids and 10 grandkids, and so that's a big part of my life. But I've had to support all that. So I started out my kind of career part of my life. I was working in the egg industry, worked with farmers and co-ops and elevators in that whole realm for a number of years. Then I worked as in a family and marriage ministry for about 15 years, as that was really important to us, did that. Then for the next segment, I was in the food safety business, and I worked with large corporations in their slaughter plants, mostly chicken, hogs, and cattle. And I worked with them to keep that product safe during that whole process. So I was in a lot of that big industrial type stuff. And then I've been with Corporate Chaplains now for about a year and a half, a little bit more than that. and get to work with people like you every day. I love doing what I'm doing. I love meeting you guys. I'm a DIY do-it-yourselfer, right? I go back. I've scorched the end of a screwdriver trying to put an outlet in. I've had boots and I've pulled concrete. I've shingled roofs. I've shot a nail through my hand with an air gun framing up a house. But I tell you, the one thing that when I think about what you guys, a lot of you guys do, is I appreciate the skill and the art of what you do, because I dabble in it and I know what it takes to do it really well. And the second thing is that I am totally envious of your tools. Whenever I see a video of anybody in your industries, I'm like, oh, would I love to have that? So we have a little bit in common there. So that's a little bit about me. As far as CCA goes, Corporate Chaplains of America, the most common story that we hear when we talk with owners and leaders around the country is that their title, their time, and their training keep them from caring for their people the way they either want to or the way their people need them to, one or the other. And so what we do is we place a chaplain or a care coach in the business to help build relationships with employees, to answer their calls whenever they need help, and to show up in person if a crisis happens. And we've been doing that for 29 years, and we still continue to do that today. Thanks, Greg.
All right, Jared, thank you. You, as a safety guy, my heart cringes. You guys that are on the line that know a little bit about my background is health and safety. And when you start talking about, some of the things, I'm cringing in the back of my mind here, but I appreciate you being here. Thanks for your experience. And I'm glad you're all whole, because you did some crazy things out there apparently. So Elizabeth, I'm going to come to you now and tell us a little bit about yourself and then kind of what you're doing these days. And then we'll jump into Joe shortly after that.
Sure. So I don't have the same DIY experience as Jared, but so I'm Liz. I'm Director of Strategic Accounts and Partnerships at Tuned. I have over 10 years of experience in the employee benefits industry. I'm actually a classically trained musician and I'm a hearing care advocate. And one of the reasons why I left health insurance to go to a wellness company is because I noticed there's this huge gap in healthcare when it comes to getting access to mental health, especially hearing care. It's just something that no one talks about right now. And it affects us a lot more than we realize. Of course, working on a noisy job site will cause hearing loss, but what do you do all day? You're in headphones, you're working in an office maybe. There's a ton of ways that we're actually degrading our hearing without knowing it. And it's not, to scare anyone, but there's ways to preserve it. There's a ton of education around it. And one of the things that we do at my company, Tuned, is we provide that access to care for people to get help with hearing. So it's a virtual, comprehensive hearing health platform, and we cover everything from prevention to intervention. So prevention, like I mentioned, education to people, intervention, getting people in hearing protection and actual hearing devices. A lot of people put it off either because they can't afford it or they can't figure out scheduling to get into an audiologist's office. But since we're all done virtually or on your phone, that makes it super easy to take control with your own schedule and your own time and get your hearing preserved and protected.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Elizabeth. Now, you can't drop a bomb like a classically trained musician and run away from that. So I got to ask, like what?
Yeah. So I mainly play piano, but I play a little bit of guitar, clarinet, which I played way back in grade school in marching band. But yeah, piano, my main thing right now.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. All right, Joe, come on, bring it home for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. I just want to start off with, I'm this close to contacting Jared to ask him to re-roof my house. So Jared, just stand by for that call because I just want to see it, So my name is Joe Heilman. I was a police officer. I was a detective, undercover narcotics officer, a SWAT team commander for 20 years. I am one of the founders of this company. We started it about a decade ago. We had a lot of our citizens, good people coming to the police department, and they were having maybe some sort of neighbor dispute, some sort of relatively minor thing going on with, you know, somebody in their neighborhood. And they'd come to us and they'd say, you tell so-and-so if they come on my property, this is what I'm going to do to them. I'm going to shoot them. I'm going to do whatever. And we would look at them and we would say, okay, but if you do that, you're actually going to end up going to prison. And so there was a lot of these old adages that we were hearing. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And my house is insured by Smith & Wesson, and all of those types of things. And what we found is that good people were making bad decisions and ultimately being held accountable because they didn't understand. They didn't understand the seriousness of the problem and the way that the laws are trending across the nation, whether you're in Texas or California or New Hampshire, where I am. What we think we will be justified in doing, we find out really quickly if we're not supported by our local police department, the county DA, the state DA, the federal AG's office, that ultimately we end up fighting for our lives, literally and figuratively, for something we thought was a good decision. So we started this company. The other big thing that we had was working in narcotics. Is towards the latter part of my career, when I would get called to every drug overdose death, and when I would get there, we would find that the needle would still be in the arm of the IV injecting drug user, somebody who suffers from substance abuse disorder, and we would then have to go do a notification to the family. And I'd knock on a door at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would tell the mom, the dad, I'm sorry to tell you, but your son, your daughter, has died. And they would immediately say, how? What happened? Was it a car crash? Like, what happened? And I would tell them they died of a drug overdose. And the shock and awe on their face, not realizing that their own child was addicted to some of these drugs, was devastating. So what we learned was that people don't understand substance abuse disorder. They don't understand what it looks like, the average peak high, what it looks like when somebody's at a peak high. They don't understand what it looks like when somebody starts to withdraw. They don't understand that many times these individuals, the only thing they can love in their life is how to get that next high. And that's why they end up hurting people that are even closest to them from a theft perspective or whatever that it happens to be. So we formulated these training programs, and I do them live, we do them online. What we put together here for ABC National is all of our training programs have been pared down to 20 minutes of proficiency courses, because we find that many times organizations can't take an hour or 2 hours with each one of their employees out of the day to sit them down to do these trainings. So they're all online, on demand, 20 minutes or less. That's how we started the company, and now we are growing by leaps and bounds. And I know some of the individuals that I started working with, even New Hampshire, ABC's chapter, New Hampshire, Vermont, I know they're on here today, and we started doing this program with them, and it's just grown and grown and gotten larger and larger, and we're now all over the nation. So, Greg, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I'll throw it back to you, but that's who we are.
Thank you very much. Okay, gang. So you on the phone, I think you have to, or on the call today, I want you to understand something. I'm a big proponent of getting to know each other. And I think that was probably the best 13 minutes of your life, because now you know who our wellness partners are, not necessarily the logos that they may have on their shirts. And so here we are. Thank you all for being here today. But before I go any further, I don't want to assume that all participants know how we got here today. So if you'll humor me, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to kind of set some context and maybe set the stage for our discussion. This initiative has been in the making for several years. It is the results of ABC's continuous focus on addressing health and safety of our industry's most important assets, and that is the workforce. And I'm talking about the millions of workers that show up every day to build America's infrastructure. And I want to be clear when I say this. I'm talking about a workforce that extends from the C-suite to the concrete, from the home office to the job site. The genesis of this entire process began in 2019, and I'm not going to give you a history lesson. I'm just going to tell you that it started then when some of ABC leaders gathered around our 2019 strategic planning session, which actually happened in 2018 for the 2019 year. And they started to look kind of long range, over the hill, over the horizon, and what does health and safety look like in our association? What does health and safety look like at our chapters, and what they should offer as far as education, outreach, intervention, preparedness, and resources? And then most importantly, I think because we're a member-driven organization, they began to look at what does that mean to our organization of members that are out there. So over the course of the next few years, the ABC National Health and Safety Committee, they established a framework that became what we call today Total Human Health. And you'll see a logo on your screen. The approach to total human health is one that raises the bar from keeping workers just safe to acknowledging and addressing the thoughts and the preoccupying concerns that everyone experiences in daily life. And I submit to you, everyone on this call, everyone on this panel has had those experiences. They carry to work with them. They don't necessarily lay on the front seat of the car when you get out and go through the doors or walk across the threshold of a job. Many of those are on your shoulders when you're going out there. So its focus is really on the whole person. It's about engaging the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul. And we're going to unpackage those for you as we go through this presentation today. Additionally, it's focusing on the psychological health and safety of one and making sure that you respectfully embrace the entire workforce that's on your projects. And there's a lot changing about the men and women that make up our job sites nowadays. And it also focuses on acknowledging the risk of those distractions, those momentary lapses that may occur, or as what Joe said, an impairment. He's going to probably share some statistics, so I won't blow his thunder, but the reality is we want to make sure we're responding with the proper care or equipping people with the knowledge they know they need. So once we defined what it was, we then began to look for partners. And those are the people that can help us ensure that our chapters and members have access to the best resources on the market as they deploy total human health within their companies. So here we are, 3 resource partners that are willing to help us, help you, and help your workforce. Let's explore this a little bit deeper. And we're going to get into these organizations and what they can bring to ABC Contractor members as well as our chapters. The way we're going to go through this is I'm going to ask some questions, kind of steer them in a direction I want to go. And again, I'm looking for you to add questions as we go along here. But with total human health as a backdrop, I want to start our conversation with this question. Now, talking about products and services, all of you mentioned that very, very briefly a moment ago, and you talked about solutions. Our wellness partners now offer something. We've got 3 of them. There's probably going to be more in the future, but these are our foundations right here. So with total human health as a backdrop, I'm going to come to you, Elizabeth, first. And you mentioned a lot about, kind of the breadth of services and your background, but let's talk specifically about what does Tune bring to this space and place besides just another benefits package?
Yeah, so the thing that we really bring to companies is that we're addressing something that is not talked about. So someone is not going to be willing to mention that they might have some hearing loss, especially if they're younger. And we associate hearing loss with an aged population, which of course naturally happens, but there's a bunch of people in the working age that are affected by some type of hearing issue. So hearing issue is actually the most common sensory problem in the US, and 50 million Americans suffer from some type of condition. So it's not just a specific set of people who need to get access to hearing care, it's everyone. And what that brings, especially to companies in this industry, is a level of productivity and safety. If you can't hear well, you might be more prone to a slip and fall accident. Even with mild hearing loss, you're 3 times more likely to have something occur like that because your balance system is all based in your ears. So there's this connection to your ears that affects everything, including what you're doing at work and then something outside of work too. So having hearing loss can also affect how you communicate with your family. So it's not just you that's dealing with it, it's everyone around you, and then especially people on a job site. It's critically important. And it's just generally pushed off because it's not easy to access, it's not very affordable, and it's only for people who have severe hearing loss. So that's one of the major benefits of us is we cover everything, like I said, from prevention to intervention. We love to educate people on how to just protect their ears. I know that there's hearing protection that's provided on job sites, but you'd be surprised how many people don't even wear them correctly and are getting hearing loss much faster than they need to. And then intervention, someone who actually needs hearing aids physically cannot afford it, will not purchase them. But under our program, we completely remove the cost of those types of devices to members. The only cost really is a small fee that the employer pays to cover everyone. So I think that's the most powerful aspect, is that you're getting these devices and solutions covered at no cost. So there's no barrier anymore, and you can actually start to communicate and function better again. And the long-term effects too of hearing your cognitive health will be much better. So you have less likely of a chance of getting dementia, less of a chance of depression. There's a ton of people who have tinnitus, which is ringing of the ears, and are told that there's nothing that can be done to treat that. But that's very far from the truth. We have specialists that treat that within our program too, in our network of online audiologists. So all done virtually. So there's no excuse anymore not to get care from it. And that's the value we provide to ABC members.
Elizabeth, thank you so much. Now, you just full disclosure, I am a guy that wears the hearing assistance devices, and I never said anything about it to kind of reiterate your story there about just kind of living through it, if you will. I happened to be at a meeting one day and we didn't have microphones on, and I saw somebody's lips move and couldn't hear them. And I just became very frustrated. So it got me to the point to where it almost pushed me over the edge to where, I couldn't stand that anymore. That's how close it was to me to keep secret, kind of hidden somewhere, saying, I don't want anybody to think this. But you mentioned another thing, and I just want to go back to say I call it tinnitus, you called it tinnitus. I don't know what the right word is, but I will tell you that I suffered with that ringing in the ears most of my adult life. But being a person that has now been in hearing aids or hearing assistance devices for the last year and a half, I don't suffer from that anymore. And it's the most amazing thing is how they can set the tones that I can hear. And that absolutely did away with this. So all the things you just said, I want the people out there to understand that this is a big challenge, just like mental health in our industry is. And honestly, it's a feeder to this arena as much as anything else. So thank you for sharing that. Jared, I'm going to come to you now. And you mentioned that you've been on board with CCA for just a bit, but you've got a lot of experience around this industry, both in the profit and nonprofit side of the house. So tell us about CCA and your services, and what is that real value the products and services bring?
Yeah, I'm going to keep this as kind of concise and as simple as possible, and then certainly would love to talk with anybody and get in more in depth. But at a real basic level, what we do is we serve your company in basically 3 different ways that are available, and these can be mixed and matched. The one way that we do it is we place a chaplain or a care coach with your company, and they come in person each week and make a contact with every employee there each and every single week. And so what they're doing is they're building trust and relationship over time. And what we hope to do is to build that relationship where we're the trusted partner, where when they're hurting, they have somebody that they can talk to. The second way we do it is remote care. So sometimes you have employees that don't ever come into an office or a workplace or have a safety meeting. They might be remote for different reasons and kind of singulated. And what we have there is called remote care. And we have a specialized team of chaplains that they reach out. It's still proactively. They'll reach out proactively once a week to these employees, touch base with them, remind them that they're there and are available to them as well. The third way we do it is we have a web-based app called Telechat, and that one is not proactive. We don't reach out to the employees, but you provide that app for them through us, where it's available 24/7, where they can have 5 different ways that they can connect with a chaplain whenever they need help or anytime they want to talk with somebody, and we can serve them in that way. So that's the 3 different ways, and we can mix and match those throughout your company, however it would best go. There's 3 pillars that we operate by that's important for everybody to know. What we do is voluntary, so we never corner an employee. We never force anybody to engage. We're there when your employees want to engage. That's how we operate. So we take all that threat away that people will feel challenged or threatened. Number 2 is that it's all permission-based. So any conversation that happens with a chaplain is at the employee's permission. We don't engage. We don't have a responsibility to hold people accountable. We're there when they want to talk to us. And then the third one that's really important is that everything that's shared with us is shared in confidence, because Now, we have federally mandated stuff that we have to report. If someone's a threat to themselves, a threat to others, if there's children or abuse involved, we have to report those things. But outside of that, what they share with their chaplain is kept in confidence. And that's important because there's a lot of stuff they might not want to share with their supervisor or their owner, but they need to deal with it. And so they can deal with their chaplain that you provide. In all these different ways, your chaplain is available to your people 24/7, 365. And our chaplains try to respond to your employee when they reach out within 10 minutes of getting a phone call from them. So we can customize a plan to fit your company. And then there's the last thing I'll say about this is that there's 2 different brands you can choose from. You can do classic chaplaincy, where we'll place a chaplain in your organization. And if for whatever reason, because there's multiples of them, if you'd like to not use the word chaplain, we have a brand called Leap Care, which stands for Living EAP. Many of you have heard of an EAP program, Employee Assistance Program. So we kind of piggybacked on that, made it Leap Care. And then we place a care coach in your company. So when you introduce this program, you introduce a care coach to your people. And either way, the service is the same, the people are the same, and we serve your people the exact same way. So that's kind of how we operate.
Thank you, Jared. That's amazing. And many of you guys know on the call or may not know that I'm a chaplain, and now having Jared and the team at CCA rolling alongside of us is a big deal to help work with our chapters and member companies out there. So Joe, now I'm going to jump to you. So you and your organization, you spoke very, very high level about some of the things that you're doing. But one of the things I'm really looking at here is what are you bringing specific to the construction industry around education and awareness?
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. I'm going to kind of piggyback on what you said a few minutes ago. And you mentioned that, ultimately people, right? This is about people. If people are your organization's most important asset, aren't they just as important to you as an organization when they're away from work than while they're at work? I mean, ultimately, if you lose an employee away from work, you're still losing them as an asset. And we want to help keep people as safe and secure. And I will tell you, today's threats, they're unique, they are dangerous, and they are everywhere. The threats that we're talking about today, they really weren't around 20 years ago, or at least we weren't aware of them in the prevalency that we are today. So keeping employees safe away from work and at work is really where you start to get the buy-in from the employees. It no longer is employee training, rather it's an employee benefit. If you teach your employees how to stay safe and secure solely while they're at the job site, but there's no real application for it when they're at the mall on Friday night with their kids, then you're not getting that full buy-in. You can't teach this culture of when you come to work, I need you to turn this culture of safety and security on. And when you leave, you can turn it back off and you're good to go. This has to be something that's lived, eaten, breathed every single day. And again, to get that buy-in, if you show your employees how to keep their families safe and secure, and on Friday night at the mall, it automatically will translate back to the workplace. And now you're getting this culture shift and the culture change, and you're utilizing the advantage of your numbers. If we're only training management staff and then asking them to regurgitate a 60-minute training to their employees, and the employees know that the manager doesn't really know anything about this, he's just regurgitating what he heard a few minutes ago, then again, you're still not getting that buy-in. So what we created is a program that allows for people to take ongoing training in short segments, and we really drip on them throughout the year. As part of this package that we put together is also a newsletter. Are all of your employees going to read it? Maybe not. But if some of them read it, you are able to say, as an organization, we did something above that which most other organizations are doing. We're providing access to online, on-demand training, and we give them current trends. Some of the biggest current trends that are out there right now is called jugging. If you don't know what that is and your employees don't know what that is, how can we possibly prepare for an incident if we don't know what we're supposed to be preparing for? So all of these things are intended to be current, intended to be engaging, and allow for your employees to have actual realistic solutions. And the last thing that I'll say is a lot of times people will raise their children in smaller communities, and then their kids will grow up and they'll go off to college, and maybe they're going to NYU. You raise them in a community of 5,000 residents and they're going to NYU with 30,000 students, right? So now they're going to a big city and they're exposed to things like sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking, substance abuse, all of these different types of threats that you've spent your entire life trying to shelter them from. And now they're wide-eyed and they have no idea what to do. As part of this program that we put together for ABC, one of the courses that's on there, we call it True Safety and Security Beyond High School. It's got nothing to do with the workplace. It's simply a benefit to give to your employees so they know how to broach the conversation with their own children and then know what to tell them about today's current threats. Again, that's where you're going to get that buy-in. That's where you're going to get that culture change. And that's when you're going to get employees going, this is probably the best benefit my organization has ever provided to me. So thanks, Greg. Back to you.
Thank you. Number one, thank you all for saying what you said. And I think for those that are participating in the call or listening to it after the fact, understanding that the value that these wellness partners are bringing to the table, I want you to hear the one thing: it's going beyond the job site. It's going beyond the office. It's going into families. And as we make this migration and this move towards total human health, we've got experts, subject matter experts on how you do that and move it out of the office and into the home and life, or back from the home back in here. And so very quickly, I want to jump to just a couple more questions here. Jared, I'm going to jump down to the question 4 that I sent you guys, and I'd like for you to just kind of share maybe a real world story about, what chaplaincy, what you've seen happen in the world of chaplaincy and some of your interactions and how it's made a difference in workers' lives, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, I'll share. I'll just take the time to share one story with you that happened in the construction industry. This was with kind of a pipe fitters and welders type of a company. So a chaplain started serving this company, and every Wednesday that chaplain would show up. So that was his weekly visit, and he would be there for the morning meeting. They met at 6:30, and as this chaplain got in, they didn't do a real good job of introducing him, but he was there, and he went there for a few weeks, and no words were spoken. And his assessment of this trailer, as these guys were getting ready to go out to work, is that there was just kind of this overwhelming sense of loneliness and hurt that guys were carrying, but they were kind of trudging through work, which they had to do. And as tough as that was, the chaplain knew we've experienced this, and he knew if we can just break through and get some relationships going, I believe I can be a really big help here. So after a couple of weeks, everything was going the same. It was just kind of quiet in the morning, and the superintendent looked at the chaplain. He said, "Hey, do you have anything you want to share with the group?" And so he took the chance to kind of introduce himself, and he said, I'm a chaplain. I'm here to care for you guys. I've got a wife and 3 kids here on earth and 1 in heaven. And at that moment in his story, the supervisor stopped him and said, "Hey, 5 of these guys in here have loved ones that have committed suicide. And that guy right there, his son just committed suicide this past weekend." And then he looked at him again. He goes, "Stop and talk to us about that." And so our chaplains are trained in that particular area. And he was able to just share some things there. After that meeting, the employees went to their supervisor before they dispersed to the work site, and they said to him, "Listen, we don't have a church that we go to. We don't have anybody to talk to about this kind of stuff." Said, "Can we start having this meeting at 6 a.m. instead of 6:30? Because we want to start every day, every Wednesday, with talking with our chaplain." And he moved the meeting, and they started having the meeting at 6 o'clock, because the guys, it was a need that was there, but there was no answer to it until a chaplain was introduced into it, and the guys found out what he could bring, and that's the release that they were looking for.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It's an incredible story. A couple of things that I picked up on there that are really important. And I think I'm going to ask a question bold-faced. Jared, you guys have female chaplains as well as male chaplains. That's correct? Okay.
We do.
So I don't want to think that, I don't want anybody to walk out of this conversation without knowing that there are both male and female. And I know there are people that are actually interested in how you become a chaplain. There's a lot A lot of credentialing organizations out there. This is the one we choose to partner with. There are other fine organizations. If you're interested, that'd be something you can talk to Jared about. I can tell you as a chaplain, it took me more than just a week to do that. It's a pretty rigorous process that I went through. But having said that, it's something that you can reach out to Jared and even learn locally in your zip code. Okay, Elizabeth, I'm coming to you. I want to talk to you about the same thing. Can you share with us a story where maybe there was just a lack of knowledge about the benefit, and then all of a sudden they've got it. Things have just started to percolate out in the world of hearing loss. And I'll never say it right. I always go to tinnitus when it's something else, but you got to forgive me give me a little grace on that, would you? What about it? Give me a story.
Yeah, and honestly, you can say it either way. It means the same thing. So tomato, tomato. Yeah, as far as like a success story, one of the main things that prevents people from getting hearing care is they think it's too expensive, and it is very expensive if you're someone who needs a pair of hearing aids or an FDA-approved hearing device. You can actually buy hearing aids over the counter, not just prescription hearing aids, which you need to go to an audiologist for. But a lot of people put it off because they range anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000, and that's not including fittings. And then you have to buy them every 3 to 5 years because that's how long technology typically lasts. So people put it off and suffer from pretty severe hearing loss for a very long time until something can happen. So one of our clients, we had this in place, did a marketing push out to people to remind them of the benefit, and they signed up. So with us, you sign up on an online platform. You can do it from your computer or your phone. They took the online hearing screening, so never have to go in person to take a hearing test, makes it super easy. Identified that they had severe hearing loss, and then they scheduled a consultation with one of our audiologists. And the cool thing about our benefit too is that it's the same doctor each time. So it's not a first come, first serve. You're really building a relationship with this person. And with the audiologist, it's very nuanced, and it's extremely enlightening for people who've never got their hearing tested in general. I mean, before I worked at Tune and had my hearing tested, I think I was 5 the last time I did it. So a bunch had changed since then. And for this person, they, talked through the results and were a candidate for hearing aids. Then all within 2 weeks, they got a pair of prescription hearing aids sent completely for free to their front doorstep, pre-calibrated and ready to go. And so there's 2 additional consults included in the program. So they talk through that when they had a couple of other questions, but the fact that they had this pair of hearing aids sent to them directly and no barrier of cost, that is incredibly life-changing. They can hear again. And, getting to talk through what it's like to wear hearing aids. We have just a very low return rate with devices because expectations are set in the beginning. It's not just as simple as putting it in and then you hear again. You might start hearing your refrigerator in your kitchen, which you've never heard for the past 10 years. And that can be extremely overwhelming for people, even though it's something that people who are fine are just used to. So that's pretty powerful that you're able to just get something that you really need without having to worry about it and worry about scheduling. And yeah.
That's a great story. All of what you just said, I can completely relate to. My experience was everything that you just said. And the reality is, my wife told me, I said, "What the heck is that noise?" And she goes, "It's the refrigerator. It's been doing that since we bought the house." I'm like, "Well, how about that?"
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it is you learn how to hear from an audiologist. You learn how to hear, because if you can't hear, you just turn the volume up louder. Or if somebody else is speaking, you turn the volume, and that is the wrong thing to do. Matter of fact, I know the technology behind hearing aids today will actually, you put your hearing aids in, it actually limits the volume at which you can turn things up. So if I'm Bluetooth to my phone and want to listen to my music library, it won't let me go beyond a certain, point before it's just going to say, yeah, that's it. You got to put the ear pods in or whatever the case may be. But it's a big deal for our workforce. And thank you for being a part of this. Okay, Joe, I need a good success story from your world, something that you've seen out there in your interaction in the construction business.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So I teach classes all over the country. Every day I'm in a different state teaching classes, whether it's recognizing signs of violence, de-escalation, active shooter, or my recognizing signs of substance abuse disorder class. And I was teaching this class to a group of police officers down in Mississippi, and I won't tell you where that down there, but I was down in Mississippi, and I get a little bit of pushback because part of my training program was, to tell them 80% of people who suffer from substance abuse are employed. The ideology that we have of the homeless guy living in the cardboard box and the trench coat under the bridge, that's not likely the person who's, maybe they suffer from substance abuse as well, but it's our bank tellers, it's our construction workers, it's our police officers, it's our firefighters. And part of my message was to tell these police officers in this room that these are good people with a horrible problem. Perhaps a problem none of us could ever understand. And I hear things all the time like, oh, they're a waste of air. They did it to themselves. If they die, so be it. That's on them. They're the ones who did it. And I always tell them, that's easy for you to say until it's your son, until it's your daughter. So I got a little bit of pushback from this police department that I was teaching. And they said, you know what? We just Narcan the same people over and over again. Aren't we empowering them to use these drugs? And so again, I pushed back on them and I said, listen, the day that you are not willing to take a $10 canister of Narcan that you didn't pay for and spray it up somebody's nose to save their lives is the day that you hang that belt up. Don't come back to work. We don't want you. We don't need you. And again, sometimes I can be a little bit offensive, but that's the reality of it. I don't want you and I don't need you if you're not willing to do that. So got him thinking about it. A couple shifts later, he emailed me and he said, Joe, we had a drug overdose. It was an 18-year-old kid. I had my Narcan kit sitting on the front passenger seat of my car. I jumped out, Narcan him. It took 3 canisters of Narcan, but we brought this kid back and we saved his life. And he said, it wasn't the look in his eyes that made me believe I did the right thing, but rather when his mom got there and looked at me and said, thank you for saving my son. And again, this is my message, is 80% of people with substance abuse, they're employed, they're coming to work. They're going in your porta johns, they're going in the bathrooms, they're going in the attics, and they're booting up, they're using their drugs. And we don't know what it looks like. We don't know how to get them help. We have EAPs that are put in place. And oftentimes when I work with organizations, I'll ask them, what is your EAP intended to do? Is it intended to find the people that are using so you can fire them? Or is it intended to find the people that are using so you can get them help? Because if it's not for the latter, they're not going to come to you and tell you, I suffer from substance abuse disorder because of the stigma that's associated with it. Let's open this can. Let's provide people realistic training so that they understand, here's why we're seeing Q-tips all over the parking lot. Here's why we're seeing orange caps and burnt spoons and what all of these things look like. Here's how to keep our employees safe from others that are using in the porta johns, knowing that these drugs are transdermal. Do we know what they look like? So that's why we formulated this training program. We're obviously very passionate about it, and we've pared everything down so that people can take this sitting in their work truck, waiting for their day to start, and take it ongoing throughout the year as these drugs continue to change. And I'll end with this, but the drugs are changing as well. If you're in the Pennsylvania area, I always talk about this new drug called xylazine. Like, you don't know what that is. You don't know what it looks like. It's called zombie drug. There's a whole bunch of different street terms for it, but ultimately it's xylazine. If you don't know what that is and what it looks like, I encourage you to go out of your way to learn, because it is in fact coming to your community. Greg, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And again, for those that are on the call, what I want you to understand here is if you were to call Joe to come in and do work with your chapter or your members, he's going to do the research to know what you're dealing with, but he's also going to tell you the things you're not dealing with that may be coming. Having one of the most startling statistics was the 80% actually employed, that you just kind of think that they're, paradigm wise, they're this, but they're not. And the truth is whether it's an inner city urban job site where those things are all over the place outside of your respective project, whether it's on your project and you start to see them in awareness, this is about making our employees smarter. They say knowledge is power. Let's give them the power they need. That's what this is all about. Whether you are dealing with drugs, substance abuse, whether you need somebody like a chaplain or a care coach, or you even need, I just can't seem to get into one. Maybe you talk to Elizabeth and they start talking about putting a program in place that would help your employees. One of the things I want to tack onto the bottom of this, just from our standpoint, is, Associated Builders and Contractors, we were actually the first association in the world that received a recovery from the workplace certification from the Global Recovery Institute. One thing that Joe mentioned in a presentation that I saw him in earlier or late last year was these recovery centers seem to be very boutique-ish. Everybody's got a 30-day rehab, 60-day rehab, 90-day rehab. And the truth is his experience gives you the opportunity to pick the right place, not just the country club, not just the spa, not just the getaway. It's really intentional type of, I know that organization, they turn out, non-zombies, using your language, or people that have truly gotten their life back together. I say this because I could talk about one lady that I guarantee you is on this thing that overcame a substance abuse program, and now she leads one of our most affluent chapters that are out there because she overcame this and somebody gave her the help she needed to get there. So I've got one more quick question for everybody here before we wrap up, because we're literally running out of time, and it went a lot faster than I thought it would. Last question. Okay, and I'm coming just in random order. I'm going to come to you, Elizabeth, first this time. How can folks learn more about you and your company and get in touch with you? Or if their chapter, can they just tell somebody to go to this website? What can you tell them that says this is where they need to go?
Yeah, so I'm obviously a resource first. So you can email me, liz@tunedcare.com, or call me at 805-328-4661. That's my direct number. And we have a support email too, so support@tunedcare.com. We have a really comprehensive website, so also tunedcare.com. And there's a bunch of great resources, videos. For members that want to move forward and work with us, we'll create, a custom landing page for members to access. So putting together flyers, other videos to walk through the benefit, just additional resources on hearing health. There's just a number of things that you can get access to. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me directly. And then also there's the resource page through ABC as well that has my contact info and then a brief summary of what the program entails.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. One thing I want to capitalize on yours as well. You mentioned that a lot of this is virtual now. You don't necessarily have to step into the office. They can do these things. You don't have to sit in a little telephone booth and listen for the humming noises. You can do this stuff. You never have to leave the comfort of your own home or your, some sort of quiet environment where you can do this. And so these people that have been putting it off inside your organization for fear of taking off can now do this stuff without ever having to go into a doctor's office or stand in line to get to one. So thank you for what you're doing for us, Elizabeth. Anybody that's out there, her information's on the screen. Coming to you, Jared, tell us what we need to know, how to get up with you.
I think the easiest way for your members to contact me, my email's right there on the screen, but on the Total Wellness landing page that's on the ABC site, there is my email, my phone number, so you can text me, call me, but there's also 2 links there that take you to some landing pages that have some additional information about Leap Care and corporate chaplains. You can go there and look at that and then call me, but I'm here to answer your questions. I can meet, we can do in-person meetings, we can do, we can set up, Teams meetings. I'm here to answer your questions, find out what your needs are, and see if there's something we can do to help you.
Thank you, Jared. A couple of things, guys, just so you know, and you walk away with this thing, this is not a theology or a dogma. This is the ministry of presence. This is what we're talking about here. The way we started this conversation today, where I let them tell you about them, those are the things that we don't do on job sites anymore. That's why people are struggling in these areas, because they don't have someone they can talk to. They're not going to tell their wife. They're not going to tell their pastor. They're not going to tell their friend. They would tell somebody who's got the tools and the skills to build up a friendship and a relationship over time. So Jared, thank you for being here. I'm coming to you, Joe. How do we get up with you?
Awesome. Thank you. So we're really simple to work with, just like the other guys that are on here. If you send me an email, I will send you a link. You can click on it. Our pricing structure is very simple. We worked out a pricing structure specific for ABC National. We don't offer this to any of our other clients. It's $999 a year, and you're going to have access to every single one of my training courses on demand the moment that you sign up. You're also going to get our newsletter that's going to come to you every month with current threats, current trends, and you can push it out to all of your employees, whether you have 10 employees or 10,000 employees. I don't care. I want to get this information out there to the masses as quickly and as easily as possible so that this is realistic and effective training for them. So if you send me an email, or if you want to go again to the Total Wellness Partners page, I know that we have a brochure that's on there. You can click that link, or I can send it to you directly. The other thing that you'll get as a result of this is you're going to get consultants that are available to you. So if you've got a problem, or you've got a concern, or you've got a threat, or some incident that took place at one of your sites, pick up the phone, call me, and I will help you work through whatever problem that you have at the time in which you have it, based on your policies and your procedures. And if you don't have them, let's create them. It's all included in this program, all included in this cost. We tried to make this extremely cost effective and extremely impactful. So best way to get a hold of me is going to be through my email. I'm usually pretty prompt, but again, thank you all for joining. Greg, thanks for hosting.
Joe, thank you so much. For those of you that are watching online, you can see where this is found on our landing page. I am going to encourage you to go out and spend some time on that page, get to know these people. They are our founding wellness partners, and we believe that we've got the right ones, and we're addressing real challenges on real projects where there are real people every day. Last question I have for the group, and I just very round robin here again. Joe, are you speaking anywhere that you could tell us what part of the country you might be in the next 30 days?
Yeah, so if anybody's in Montana, or you're in Washington, D.C., or Mississippi, or Texas, or Tennessee, anywhere in New England, I will be in all of those places in the next 30 days. Florida, I'm coming down to Florida, Greg. I'm going to look for you.
Right.
So I will be in all of those places in the next 30 days. Yeah, I am kind of a traveling roadshow at this point. So I'm always somewhere spending more time in a hotel than at home. So
There you go. Elizabeth, what about you? Where are you headed to next?
So I'm located in sunny Los Angeles, California. So if you're ever in the area, let me know. I'm happy to always present and do demos. I love doing those. I currently don't have any plans yet, but always happy to do a webinar too, depending on what you need.
Maybe the next one is a webinar about the demos and the different types of things that are available to us. That'd be very interesting too. Jared, you're a road warrior. What part of the planet are you on?
Yeah, the great thing about this is the way we're partnering with ABC is I'm going to be your link. And so I'm available to go wherever I need to go. And again, sometimes people want to meet and have a video conference. I'll schedule that, make time for that. But I can also travel as well. And I'm here to serve the ABC network. So if you'd like to get in touch with me, we're going to do our very best to make time to meet with you.
Okay. Listen, gang, like I said, the one question in there about how do I become a chaplain, CCA's got a criteria that you've got to be a part of or meet. You can talk to Jared about that if you're interested. Again, there's a lot of credentialing agencies. I've seen every one of these people do their thing in person. I am going to encourage everybody on this call to reach out and spend some time on our Total Wellness Partners page, get to know these individuals, because you know what? We are going to take care of the most important asset that we've got out there, and that is the men and women that build America. We love to say around here, if you stay in it, pray in it, play in it, or get healed in it, we build it. And so at the end of the day, that's why we're doing what we're doing in this space. It's a commitment by Associated Builders and Contractors to find them. Each one of them have their own market value, that they've got a very customizable type of option that they can put to you. But this is to be, for our chapter folks on the line, this is to be easy to push out to your members. You don't have to be an expert in all the things that these three individuals are. They're the experts. They are a resource for you. And I want to say to all three of you guys, thank y'all so much for spending, I don't know, 55, almost an hour of your time with me today and this group that we've got online here. I'm going to chat with Charlie. Charlie, do we have any additional questions out there besides the one that I think I covered?
That's all.
Okay, well, we've obviously done what we needed to do today. Again, please share this information with your membership if you're in the chapter, or if you're a member listening. This is information for you. And so we're proud to have these folks here. We're proud to be going in this direction, and they're putting the wind in our sails. So we'll see you guys real soon. Thank y'all for taking the time. Okay, recording stopped.